All right. Let's see. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining. You have joined the Grants Deep Dive. We'll be looking into new grants functionality that is introduced during the releases 32, images 32 through 39. My name is Yulia Ivanova, and I work for Kaiser Permanente as a business analyst. And I'll be sharing our experience from the point of view of implementing POM releases. And Jessica will be sharing her knowledge and in depth in regards to the grants features. So thank you for joining in. And Jessica, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi. Hello, everybody. I am Jessica Mann from Spear MC. Hope you're having a great conference. Been working with the PeopleSoft product and in particular grants management for quite some time. So that includes the modules, grants management, project costing, billing AR, as well as commitment control.
Very well. So before I share a little bit about Kaiser Permanente, I just want to say that I've been with Kaiser grants production support team for 5 years exactly in August. And I am privileged to work with some awesome people. Grants team consists of 6 full-time production support team members, including our supervisor. And we not only support grants, but we also support PC from the point of view of capital and IT projects. Okay, but this presentation will only cover the grants piece of it. So our mission is Kaiser Permanente exists to provide affordable, high-quality healthcare services to improve healthcare and communities we serve. So just we'll give you just a couple of slides about Kaiser Permanente and our stats. So here we skip because all of this will be available to you in the presentation download after the presentation. So these are all important stats from 2020. 21 is not available yet, but again, you will have this data in the presentation. Next, please. We have a lot of grounds to cover, so I want to make sure we have enough time to spend. So here, just to point out that KP has the largest single instance of PeopleSoft environment in healthcare. So let's see, we have 250,000 plus users, and we are up and running 99.9% of the time. Which is a big deal in our world. Go ahead. So these are the little bit the stats about our research. So we have what's called 8 regional research centers, and they cover multiple states and multiple groups within each state. While we don't have as many users as the rest of the Kaiser has in PeopleSoft, but it's still significant because we're in multiple states, there are multiple requirements. And so that makes our world of grants, very complex world of grants, even more complicated. So we're at about 140 million in annual funding, 99 million Kaiser Permanente support for research. So 65 is other funding sources, and the rest you can look at the slide as well. So we're gonna move on. All right, so we have a few modules. As you imagine, we've been on 9.2 for a while, and to our huge excitement, we just went live with image 39 on September 12th, if I'm not mistaken, over the weekend, we released the latest. So we are now live and very excited. Next, please.
Oh, it's not wanting to move. There we go.
Technical difficulties.
All righty. So now a little bit about SpearMC before we go into the rest of the presentation. We are proud to be an Oracle Platinum partner, and we specialize in PeopleSoft and Oracle technologies. So from HR payroll to financial supply chain, grants management is really what we focus on. We can help with supporting managed services. We do lots and lots of training, both core team training, end user training, whether that's in person or live virtual, as well as technical training. We can host on Oracle OCI. And also, we're going to be talking a little bit later, at least Yulia is going to be talking about automated testing, so we can help you in those areas as well. We do feel like to be able to keep up with PUM updates, this is one area that can really make a difference. So Yulia will be talking about that. So we can help train you on the tool and help start building out your collection of scripts. As well as overall providing assistance with PUM updates and testing, providing testing as a service. And we have quite a few sessions here at the conference, so check it out. There's still more today, tomorrow, and then if you missed any on Tuesday, please go back and check out the recording or grab that presentation. This is our location. So we are now coast to coast and really have been in business since 2004, where we started off in the Bay Area. We're also very proud to have been recognized by Gartner. So SpearMC was the sole featured PeopleSoft vendor in the 2021 Gartner Market Guide for Oracle Professional Services. So super excited about that. So if you have any interest in moving to the cloud, I'm very happy to talk to you about it.
All right, so the session overview. Kaiser Permanente has been successful in implementing Fluid and keeping up with PUM upgrades. This session will talk about our kind of roadmap and our experiences, what worked for us, what didn't. And then we'll also take a look at the grants features that have been released in images between 32 to 39. So we'll talk about KP approach to implementing PUM image updates, KP updates lessons learned, grants new functionality within those PUM releases. Before we go on, we do have some poll questions. We do encourage you, if you didn't get a chance to submit your answers before joining the call, we do ask you to take those poll questions during or after, if possible. We would love to share your results towards the end of the presentation. If we can, that'd be great. But the questions are, what financial PUM image are you on? And so those are the image releases that are available, or you may not be on 9.2 and are looking forward to moving forward. Oh.
Sorry. I was looking at the polls. I'm starting to get, well, a couple of answers.
Okay, thank you for taking a look at it. So the question 2 is, how often do you apply functional updates? Is it multiple times a year, once a year, or every 2-3 years, or even more?
Okay, well, please go ahead and take the poll when you have a chance. You should be able to see the results for everybody once you've provided your answer. So I see a few more coming in terms of how often. So once a year so far is in the lead, and that is kind of consistent with what we see oftentimes. So yeah, number 4. So majority as of right now, either once a year or once every 2 to 3 years. Cool. Thanks, guys, for taking that poll.
All right, I believe we have one more. Oh, no, that's
Nope,
it, huh?
moving on.
All right, very well. So this is a KP approach to POM updates. So as you guys, so just kind of starting way back when we implemented PeopleSoft, I was unfortunately not present during that exciting time. I heard it was a huge project, but Kaiser Permanente implemented 8.9 in 2015, and then 9.2 in 2016. Again, that was before my time. I joined shortly after. And then we've started experimenting with POMs. Our first POM upgrade happened in 2018. And we actually got very excited and decided to do 2 of them a year. So we shortly realized that it's very taxing on the support team as well as on the business partners. Testing takes a lot of time, as all the aspects of the project. And so in 2019, we decided to move to a one-time a year POM release and tool upgrade. And so while this image does not reflect our latest project that we just went live with in 2001, in September timeframe, we went live with images 36 to 39. Next, please. All right. So yes. So here's a little summary. One POM update project a year. So we just finished our 4th year and 5th POM release project. So we utilized dedicated team to implement that. We also use PTF scripts. For those that are not familiar, this is an automated tool that allows you to create a single script as well as a life cycle of scripts. And as you know, grants definitely need a life cycle. So we have multiple life cycles that are run during the test cycles to ensure that regression testing is fully complete, which will give confidence to the business partners before the sign off on the project and moving forward to go live. Okay, and so here's a little bit of the what was in scope for 2021. As I said, images 36 to 39 were implemented. We also went to tools 8.58.1 and Oracle Database 19C. We had some additional fluid components implemented. And of course, adoption and customization of new mandatory features releases as part of PeopleSoft Image 3639. We also increased the use of automated testing during this year, and then installation and enablement and evaluation of Kibana for future consideration. So here's a little bit of how we approach updates. So we do initial review. So there's a team that is assigned to the project. So, from the grants point of view, it could be any of us on the production support team that would be a lead in any given year for the POM project. That keeps us on our toes and really helps to get involved. However, the entire team is there to support that one person that represents for the team for that particular year of the project. And we're always there to support, to do extra work, do extra reviews, because there's just enormous amount of work that is there for POMs, as you guys know. Then we, once the initial review and analysis is done, then we invite users to engage and to review the new features to help us understand what is a must and what's a nice to have. And while we share the complexity of each feature, so the users are fully informed before they make decisions of going forward. Okay, and then features to adopt. So that's what we move forward with. Yes, some features do not get implemented due to maybe possibly not being utilized as much. We've had experience where we put in the features and we realize that the users just don't use them. That's the reality of it. But most of them are very low maintenance or no maintenance. So we're not concerned, but that's the reality of the features. Moving forward. All right, so these are the stats that we've had from year 2020. So just to kind of give you a sense of how we break down. So the step one, initial review and analysis. So we identified 14 required in 2020. Nice to have were 3 and not required 30. And then step 2, secondary review. And so we there's a further breakdown to see what's required and what is vanilla, and what requires minor enhancements, what needs to be retrofitted based on existing customizations, which in Kaiser we have a few on the grant side. And so so that helps us understand the complexity of the project and complexity of development work and testing that comes with it. Okay, and then step 3 is deep dive review and presentation to the business partners. So now they can understand what's ahead of us and make it so they can be better informed. Next slide, please.
Are you seeing it where it says activity and model? Is it showing, or do you want to go to the next one after that?
I didn't understand the question, Jessica.
Oh, okay. Which slide are you seeing on your screen?
Activity and model, yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So here, we break down a little more detail per activity. So feature analysis. So we decided to, as we progress with each year, we also do an analysis of what worked well, what needs improvement. And so based on the activity, we kind of analyzed what worked in 2020 and what we would adopt in 21. So here, feature analysis, the same as 2020. That worked well for us. So we do the initial analysis. Functional team is our production team. And so we did the analysis and the initial recommendations. Business accepted the recommendations. And then there was a demo later in updated instance, so the business can understand what it looks like in a Kaiser environment. Okay, Then the next activity, regression test evidence review. So there was a slight change from 2020. So this year, we asked that so functional team would sign off, and then the business partners have an option to review evidence, but not required. So in 2020, they were required to sign off. And in 2021, they were not required to sign off on reviewing the evidence. So the evidence in this case included the regression testing that was done by automated tool. It was also done, the manual testing was done for new features, and then there was extra testing done for manual testing for Kaiser customizations and how they would act with new updates. So during the user acceptance testing was the same as 2020. So it was limited to new features for the users. Because we have a large group of users, we had volunteer regions that basically not only did the testing, they did the thorough documentation of the new features and also presented it to their peers, and their peers would sign off based on the test results that they saw. And no regression testing was done by the business users because, as you guys know, regression testing can be very complex and intense, and we did not want to tax our business partners with that. So that the heavy lifting was done by the automated testing tool. So the user test around, there's a playground testing. So that is open to all business, all grants, in our case, all grants business users, and they were able to get familiar with the new features, as well as do some limited testing with the areas of concern if they had any. And then, of course, there is production validation. So that was done in the same as in 2020. And so that's when we invite business partners to have 3 hours to execute transaction to validate key processes working as designed. So during that time, we asked them to run multiple reports, do basic counts, like, bottom lines of the amounts, the project counts, the contract counts, or drill into some specific projects where they feel comfortable with the numbers, just to make sure that everything looks as expected. Next slide, please. So this is a sample timeline we went by. So as it shows, so this is the timeline from 2020. So we went live the first week of October. No, I apologize. We went live in September, the first week of September, and then we have a month to have a production support during that time. So, but that kind of gives you an overview of that we have about 26 weeks for the project. Of course, there's planning that takes place ahead of time, but that kind of gives you an idea of what we do within that time frame. Next, please. All right, so these are the key lessons learned. So majority of 2021 updates effort is technical retrofit, limited impact to business. We identified less defects this year, which is very exciting. So as we get better at implementing POM updates every year, we tighten our performance. during that time, and it becomes easier on the production support as well as on the business partners. Okay. And, just want to point out that 72% of production defects were resolved within 24 hours. We have less time for business to test and get involved, yet they are informed, and we build confidence in them for new releases and for years to come. Okay. Here we get a little bit into more detail. So I'm going to skip a couple of those slides because they are pertaining to the entire project. So it's a little more detail that probably we want to cover during this presentation, but I did include them just thinking that maybe somebody would be interested in that information. Just to kind of give you updates from being able to go live this year, September, we went over the live over the weekend of September 11th and 12th, if I'm not mistaken. And so far we're doing really well. In grants area, we had a couple of surprises after go live. We've noticed that if you guys do, it's for those that do inter-unit billing, we noticed that combo edits were put on some of the pages that were not there before. So that was a little bit of a surprise for us. We also ran into a performance issue for the process, again, in billing. It's BI job 06. What it does, it processes, it creates accounting entries after the invoice has been finalized. And so the job ran for 48 hours or more. So we had to, our performance team chimed in and did their magic, and now it's working just fine. So those are probably the two major things that we ran into. And now we're in our first month and so far we have not had any major issues. So we're, it's our fourth day of the month and our first month and after POM releases. So we are excited that it's working well.
Thank you, Yulia, and congratulations. That was a lot of great information, and also just really wonderful to see your team successful in continuing to maintain your updates and adopt new functionality and technology.
Thank you, Jessica. Before you start, I see some questions coming in the chat. So we will address the questions towards the end of the presentation. Because we have a lot to cover, and so we want to make sure that we present all the information to you guys. Okay.
Yes. Okay. So and now, yes, thank you. And let's please do remember to come back to the questions at the end. Now is the time of the session where we are going to be getting into new functionality related to grants in the images 32 to 39. So that's spanning multiple modules. And we're hitting those features that we think are most relevant for grants. So first one, starting in grants, enhance the award profile page to display commitment control begin and end dates. So now as you log into the award profile, you'll see on the bottom right-hand corner, you can see the commitment control begin and end date related to that project. So this is really helpful. As you know, there's many dates that we're maintaining in grants. Commitment control is one of them. And while you can access this information through queries, not everybody has access to the budget definition. So nice to have that visibility right here on the award profile. Also in grants, enhance the modify end dates page to include project team end dates. So the modify end dates feature has been around for a while. It started in image 25. Customers are really excited about this. So since there are those multiple pages you need to go to update the various dates, this page brings it all together into a single page where you can update your contract dates, the dates associated to project activities, award funding, award modifications, and now with image 34, you can also update project team dates. As I was reviewing this presentation, I updated it. I also had a note on here that they had on the roadmap, Oracle had on the roadmap to also expand it to include commitment control dates. So that has also recently been released in image 41, which is pretty exciting. Okay, so many of you may already be familiar with this, but as you can see, the page has various sections where you can either individually check boxes or select all if there's multiple project or activities. So beginning with the default end date, as you come down to the bottom of the page, let me go continue on. We have the ability to specify the new end date and apply it to those lines that are checked. So notice right here, related to project team, I don't see anything right in this example showing the project team. So keep this in mind that the feature to update the project end dates is displayed only when project management is disabled. Okay, so depending on the environment that you're looking in, if project management is checked on, then you wouldn't see it. But once you have it off, then now you see this section down here for project team. And kind of similar in concept to the award funding and award modifications where you're going to be impacting or you have the ability to update the very latest row. Same concept here. If there's team members with multiple schedules, it's just the latest schedule that would be displayed that you could update. Okay, so once again, if we go in here, select our rows to be updated, put in our new end date and click copy new end date, then all of our end dates are then updated to the value that we specified, making it very easy. Okay, next is delete run control framework. So obviously this isn't specific just for grants, but we thought it might be something helpful to mention. I know I've had customers asking me about, in the past when these run control maintenance features were going to be coming available. So now in image 37 added the run control delete framework that allows you to delete run controls that are no longer used. There are two different modes to go into. One as an end user that you can just create those that you yourself created, or an administrator role where you can delete on behalf of others. So here is the fluid tile for run control delete under employee self-service. As you see at the top of the page, we have this train stop approach that is guiding you through the process. So here I can enter my user ID, or as an administrator, you can add up to 5 users at a time. Then selecting the run controls and continuing on to the review and delete. And at the end, you have the ability to monitor the status of the run controls that were deleted. And then similarly, there is a new feature in image 38 for run control date update. So once again, not specifically grants related. It's across financials, but something that could be relevant for grants. So enhance the run control date update framework to allow you to update date elements on multiple run controls for all financials products. So it's a multiple step process to do this. So first enabling the process, at the administrator level, and then at the user level, creating a run control update task, add the run control to the task, update the run date parameters, which I'll show you in a second, and then submitting the task. So for facilities administration, the grants delivered indirect overhead process, they've actually released a feature related to this that probably minimizes your need to update dates, since now as a default, the date on a transaction will default from the accounting date. I'm very thrilled about that update as well. But in the past, this was kind of one of those run controls that people would regularly update, including changing the exception accounting date. So now you can automate that if you still have a need to continually update the dates. So how do we go about that? So once again, we have this train stop approach to guide you through the process. So here, once I get to the changing of the date parameters, I have actually the option. I can specify an absolute value, or I can say the number of days after. So here I'm going to actually update multiple dates. So I wanted to update the through date and the exception date. So I can do that at the same time. And once I submit it for processing, it'll tell me what's been updated. And then, oops, I didn't put red boxes around it, but you can in fact see that yes, the through date and the exception accounting date were updated. Okay, pretty cool. All right, description for project prompt. So in image 38, enhance the prompts for project ID and grants to include project description. At the top of the page, you'll see an older screenshot from Kaiser where you cannot see the ability to search by description. We can search by project ID. And while it's amazing how many project ID numbers people remember, me personally, I do love the feature to be able to search by description. So contains or begins with some sort of value in the description. Can be quite handy. In image 38, so expanding drop zones here. So enhance the grants classic plus pages to include drop zones. So drop zones, you are probably already familiar with it. It is a tool by which you can add new fields to a fluid or classic plus page without impacting the lifecycle management of your PeopleSoft applications. So initially they were really releasing these in fluid pages, and then they continue to expand these in classic to classic plus pages. So you can see what is available by going into the configure drop zones pages. So I see here for my component GM award, this is the type of classic, and you can see the drop zone is at the bottom of the award profile page where you can link in your new custom subpage to add in additional fields. Similarly, in project costing and contracts, in image 37 and 38, they also expanded drop zones into classic plus pages as well. All right, let's talk about manager transaction review. In image 35, they expand some functionality to decouple the review from billing from revenue. So this manager transaction review feature, it's been around for a while. The process allows you to have a project manager or somebody in the team who has that approval role come in and review, and technically also adjust if necessary, and approve transactions before transactions are sent through to the billing process. So how you turn this on, it's really kind of a hierarchical approach. So initially you must, if you want to use this feature, Manager Transaction Review, you turn it on at the installation level. And then at a project type level, as you're creating new projects, the project type will specify whether that review is required or defaulted to off. And then at the next lower level, for an individual project, you have the ability to click it on and off. So in the past, you had the ability to, turn this review process on, and if it wasn't reviewed, it would not do any additional entries. It wouldn't create any revenue. It wouldn't load to billing until it had been reviewed. Now you can decide if you want to have revenue process regardless of if it's been approved or not. So that's that checkbox here, review required for revenue. Okay, so some other topics around contracts and billing. In image 36, enhance the process contracts billing run control page to include some additional fields. So the master contract number, LOC doc ID, and a system date processing option. In the past, we already had tons of fields that we can utilize to narrow down what information we want to send to billing. So obviously it's the contracts module for grants that controls the billing and revenue process. So this run control, in the past we could already narrow down by contract types, by individual sponsors, by LOC ID, and now we have an additional field specifically related to grants for LOC doc ID. So allowing you to get even more granular as you're running your billing. Coming over now into the project costing module in image 39, they enhance the transaction list search feature by adding these search fields: analysis type, transaction ID, transaction ID from, and various other fields that we'll see at the top of the page. So in the past, this is what the transaction list looked like before image 39. Very few search criteria if you think about it. This transaction list is your direct view into project costing. And as you guys probably know, that table is huge. It has 162 possible fields that can be populated on that table. So in the past, we just had a few ways to narrow down what we wanted to look at on this page. Now, this is actually super helpful, I think. They've added additional fields to get more granular, to look for particular transactions. So specifying analysis type, if you're using the expense module, the expense sheet, a particular voucher ID, a particular journal ID, and even the unique transaction ID or transaction ID field from up above here. So I'm pretty happy about that. As you're, in production and reviewing reports, you may not use this quite as much on a day-to-day basis, but as you're implementing, I find this is a super helpful page to look at your data without having to build any special query criteria, and just come right into this online inquiry page. Okay, also in project costing in image 37, it was enhanced. The project status feature was enhanced to provide correction capabilities. So if you're using grants, you're well aware of this field. It's required. It controls the actual processing status of a project, and it is really critical and indicating where the grant is in its life cycle. So people used to actually customize this page to bring in this capability because people, do make mistakes occasionally. So now we, as delivered, have that ability to go into correct history mode. So that was very helpful. Okay. Let's go talk about billing for a little bit and billing workflow specifically. So image 39, we have now an enhancement to the billing approval functionality to use delegation framework and to delegate authority to other users. So let's talk about the history here of billing workflow a little bit. Kaiser is one example where they have rolled out the use of system billing workflow for grants. I'm a big fan of it. It has been available for quite some time. It really came out in 9.1, so automated workflow for invoice approvals. They deliver a credit approval process, but you can build your own workflow criteria. And let's see, so here's a couple of events that have happened over time. Image 22, they made the approvals fluid, so you could have fluid approvals for billing. And in image 24, this is pretty relevant for grants, they added the ability to have invoice created through the billing worksheet to be included in the billing approval process. So in the past, before around image 24, if you were utilizing the billing worksheet functionality, which often people do in grants, those invoices would automatically come into billing as approved. So basically, bypassing the ability to use the actual workflow functionality that routes it for approvals. But that changed around the time of image 24. So you can still utilize the billing worksheet and take advantage of the system invoice approval process. And then in image 39, here we're talking about adding the ability to use that delegation framework to make it even easier to delegate out the approvals if, for example, somebody's going on vacation. So on the billing business unit level, here is that checkbox that allowed it really to be used for grant customers that are using the billing worksheet approval step. So checking enable worksheet approval allows that to still give you the ability to use the billing approval functionality. And then right underneath, well, this is basically where you turn your billing approvals on. There's a checkbox on the top there, enable invoice approvals, and then the process ID. So here it says credit invoice. That is the one that is delivered. So take a look at that. That will give you, a guide of how you can set up your own approvals. So maybe it's not just credit invoices you want to approve. It's really all invoices with a particular bill type or over a certain dollar amount. You have the ability to define that criteria. Okay, and then here's just some screenshots for the delegation framework that they added into the billing approval process. Supports upward delegation, downward delegation, and lateral delegation. Okay, so once again, we have that train stop guiding you through the process. Okay, so entering your delegation dates. You can leave the to date blank. It is optional. Comments you do need to enter. Enter in your user ID, click done. And then once you've gone through the review and submit process, you can still review who is out there as your proxy. And then at a later time, you have the option to revoke them. Okay, and just here's a small list of the types of transactions that are available for delegation framework. So once again, take a look at that billing credit invoice as an example. All right, back to contracts. In image 36, enhance the My Contracts by adding options to auto-populate a list of contracts for each end user based on configurable criteria. So we've had, in grants, the functionality for quite some time now to have sort of like your My Favorites list. We've had it on the proposal, we have it on projects, have it on contracts, but now more and more we see tools, online tools and inquiry being driven or have the ability to be driven off of your own list. So that already happened in the Projects Work Center where certain My Work lists drive off of your own projects list. And similarly here on contracts, new functionality is when you're viewing online, you can pull just from your own My Contracts list. So having this ability to automate what your list is of contracts by setting criteria makes it obviously a lot easier to build out that list, especially if you have a large volume of contracts. So up at the top here, putting in one or more criteria and or in gives you that ability to automatically generate out a nice list of My Contracts. And then still in contracts, in image 36, enhance the contracts homepage to provide users access to the Manage Contracts tile. This tile provides a comprehensive view of contracts for which the users are responsible, as well as related actions. So, you know, somewhat of a similar concept to a work center of bringing information to you where you can even do things from it, take action from the information displayed. So here we have the Manage Contracts fluid tile that as you click on it, we can once again bring in information from My Contracts. As you click on the various contracts, giving you high-level information about the contract, as well as the ability to take related actions or drill into more details. So I can see, for example, as I drill into here on recent vouchers, I can drill to get more information and even see who the supplier name is for that transaction. So that's not, you know, we have some voucher information in Proj Resource, but often, you know, one of the things you need to do when you're creating a query is join to go to get the supplier name. That's built right into this page, so that's pretty neat. Okay, still on the reporting side of things, customer contracts analytics. Kibana, hopefully you've been attending some sessions or seeing some sessions on Kibana. I know we had one earlier this week in image 37 and 39, made some customer contract analytics available to provide those visualizations to analyze the number, size, and duration of your active contracts. Okay, so by clicking on this contract analytics fluid tile, it brings you into Kibana to give you, you know, those visualizations about your contracts. So I actually, for one of our customers, we built a custom work center, and as they went into their work center, they had a very similar pivot grid of give me, I want to see a display of my contracts and the statuses that they're in. So along the same lines here, we have visuals on our active contracts by BU, region, and type, remaining billing by BU, remaining billing versus revenue. So a variety of delivered dashboard information for your contracts. And similar to work centers where, you know, PeopleSoft delivers shell work centers for you, but you can also create and tailor your own, and that's the same thing with Kibana. So here's an example of a dashboard tailored to grants that brings in information about your number of open grants. It could be grants that here we have canceled grants. It could be grants that, you know, I think in pending status would be very important to know. What are those that need to be completed and set up? We have this graphic to show the allocation of our grant administrators who has the most number of contracts. So we're pretty excited about this functionality. I know our customers think this could be a great potential PI dashboard, including forecast information. So let us know. Be happy to give you more information about Kibana. Moving on to back to billing. So the billing interface is now enhanced to run by business unit. So as we see, not only can you select interface ID, but business unit. I think I'm almost done here, guys. Let's see. In image 32, we have the ability to update a field for multiple invoices in Masse. So starting in image 32, there was just a few fields available. So you get here by clicking on the fluid invoice Masse maintenance tile, and we can, so for multiple invoices, update billing authority, billing specialist, collector, and then in image 41, they have expanded it and increased the number of fields that you can update in Masse. So here we were searching for billing specialist, a particular value of CMT, and then we wanted to change it to ACE. We checked the invoices and clicked replace, and we can get an indication of how many invoices were updated. Quite helpful. Oh, I made it with a few minutes left. All right, that was our last slide, and let's see. Was there any questions, Julia, that you saw? Looking in the various chats here.
I think we're just going to open for questions right now and see what we can share with our users. And if we run out of time, we can correspond answers via email.
Mm-hmm. True, true. I think there's a recent message added about the project description slide that it has a 3-letter prefix and sequential number. Did you want to talk about that customization at Kaiser, Julia?
Sorry, I'm trying to see where you found this. Can you repeat the question?
Okay, so when we were talking about adding of the project description, they noticed that the project ID had a 3-letter prefix. Let me go back.
Oh, yes. So this is something that we've decided that is useful to Kaiser, because we have multiple type of projects in project costing across business functions, such as, research, IT, it's skipping my mind right now, all the rest of the project types, but there are many, and so we found it useful to identify prefixes for research. So RNG would be a research projects, RNG, and then numerical number assigned by the system. And then we also, for research, we use ADM projects, which are administrative projects, and they could be a whole lot of various things. It could be cost recovery, it could be salary cap, it could be unallowable costs of various sorts. It could be related to some of the payroll business practices that we do. So that's basically what we have is ADM and RNG. I hope that makes sense.
Okay. Okay, let's see. The only other question I see in the chat, and I think we may be running out of time here, relates to billing approval. Not sure if we can continue or not. Maybe I can send a follow-up. I'm going to take a note here of the chat feature to respond back to Anoop on the approval framework. So thank you everybody again for attending. Really appreciate it. And please don't forget to do your survey and reach out if you have any other questions.
Yeah, I think our contact information is in the presentation. Thank you, guys.